Are you an energetic lightning bolt part 2? This is a follow-up video of a prior video I made on what it means to be an energetic lightning bolt. In a summary, it's a person who is meant to magnetize negative or charged heavy energies, to channel them, to discharge them, or to transform them. I will put a link to the first video in the end screen of this one and below the video as well. And I've received so many questions about this that I decided to make this video as a follow-up. So what I didn't go into in the first one is how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the fact that you are an energetic lightning bolt? So here are some tips. It's a non-exhaustive list on how you can manage this energetically and not suffer from all the energies coming in and coming through your body, and you being very sensitive to the energy of other people and the energy of spaces. So the first thing that is really important, if it is part of your function to do this, to attract energy, to transform energy, it is to have a regular, solid spiritual practice. So having a spiritual practice, this can be meditation, this can be yoga, mindfulness, contemplation, prayer. It can be a combination of all these things. It can be something else, but something that is regular, that allows you to come back to yourself, to come back into your center, to realign yourself, to connect yourself to spirit, to source, to God, and also ground yourself. So a regular spiritual practice is important because it builds spiritual and energetic resilience. It's much like a muscle. So when you first start going to the gym, for example, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because your body is not used to it anymore, and you have to rebuild your muscle mass and your resilience. It's the same with meditation. You cannot expect to sit on a meditation pillow and have success from the first time. It takes practice. It takes practice. You have to do it regularly, especially if you're in a position where you're holding space for other people. A daily practice is highly recommended. A regular practice at least is necessary to help you build this inner resilience and build the energetic and the spiritual stamina to deal with different kinds of energies flowing through you. So that's a necessity. If you're not willing to do that, then please don't hold space for other people, because either the space you hold will not be powerful, will not be transformative, or you will suffer from it. You will feel depleted after you've held space for other people. You will suffer physically, energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. So that is not what is meant to happen. Number 2, know yourself. Know your limits. Know what your stamina is. Know what your capacity is. Much like an untrained person will not go and pretend to climb Mount Everest the next day. It's the same thing with spiritual and energetic stamina. What is a reasonable number of people that you can hold space for while feeling that you're comfortable, feeling that you're on top of things, feeling that you're holding space for every person in the group, and feeling afterwards that you are not depleted and that you have not discharged all of your own energy or all of your own life force. So be aware of that. And that is something like a muscle also that builds. The more you hold space for other people, the more you train yourself, the more you take your spiritual practice seriously, the more you will be able to hold space for bigger groups or a higher number of people. But this is something that you have to be responsible with. So what is a reasonable number for yourself? Does that mean that you can't hold space for groups or for multiple people? It doesn't, but you have to be aware of what the time frame is where you can stay focused and on point, aligned, and which number of people. Now, there are a number of things that you can do to make things easier for yourself. You can, and this you should do anyway, set the space before a group comes in. So create a sacred space. By creating a sacred space, by charging the space energetically, the space also helps take care of the energy of the people and contain whatever is happening in the space. So that is important anyhow. And a second thing you can do, if you're starting off, you're really passionate about sharing something and it's an energetic practice or a spiritual practice, so you are holding energetic space for other people, but you're still not entirely sure of yourself, then invite another person into the space who can help you hold space, like an energetic pillar, so that there's two of you holding space for the group. So whenever your attention or your alignment or your energy flails a little bit, the other person is there as a backup. So know your limits and know your capacity. Although I would also say that it's important not to be completely deterred from holding space for other people just because you're aware of the responsibility that it takes to do this. Women particularly can hold off from sharing, from holding space, from doing what they're really passionate about because they want things to be absolutely perfect. Well, they won't be perfect. You also learn by doing, you also learn by holding space. So it's striking a balance really between not holding yourself back, but then also knowing when it is your time to step into a role as a teacher or to start holding space for other people. So it's a fine balance, but do not let yourself be deterred, because if this is part of your purpose, if this is part of your life purpose, you will always feel like something is pushing you to take this space. And actually, by creating spaces that are containers where you share your energy, where you share your teachings, and where it's clear that the people coming into the space are being held by you, or being held by your energy, it helps you channel this energetic process of holding space for others and transforming energy. It creates clarity and some kind of energetic tidiness as well in your life. So what I mean by this is, if your purpose is to share, if your purpose is to help people transform, help people evolve, and really hold space in a spiritual setting, if you don't step into that space, it doesn't matter. Your soul knows what its purpose is. Your spirit knows what its purpose is. And you will be holding space for others regardless. So what that means is that in your personal life, whatever you're doing, if you're taking care of your household, you're taking care of your children, you're working, you're spending time with friends, you're being active creatively, you will also be holding space for other people. And so it feels very invasive. This is when energies start to feel very invasive. And actually, by creating spaces, all that capacity, or a lot of that capacity, is channeled towards those spaces specifically. So people who are meant to be helped by you will come into those spaces and into those containers, which creates a lot more spiritual and energetic ease in your private life, or outside of these container spaces where you're no longer needed to hold space all the time, because you've created spaces, you've created containers, and the people who need your assistance will flow into these spaces or into these containers. So it feels a lot more relaxing. It feels a lot more easy as well to hold space. Number 3, and this will surprise probably many people, protection. I personally do not believe in protection. I believe that protection comes from energetic clarity, from spiritual clarity, and from inner resilience. I don't believe in protection mechanisms or protection practices. What I very often see, unfortunately, is that people who have very little energetic stamina or who are even weak energetically will come up with all kinds of protection tools and methods to protect their energy, but they realize that they're not actually working. None of that works unless your inner stamina is there, unless your inner alignment is there. Another problem I find with these protection mechanisms is this idea that there is an external enemy, that there is something we need to protect ourselves against. And I guess it's kind of an issue that I have with the concept of boundaries as well. I do believe in boundaries. I believe healthy boundaries are important, especially in situations of abuse or situations where our energy or our personality is potentially abused. So it's important to know what boundaries are. What I feel is that nowadays we've gone a little bit overboard with the concept of boundaries. People are talking about boundaries all the time, and unfortunately, what I'm finding is that many people who I hear saying, I have really strong boundaries, so this is why I said this to this person, is an excuse to be an asshole, is an excuse to be unpleasant. Is used as an excuse to isolate yourself, to wall yourself off from the world. If you believe that isolation is a solution, if you are constantly focused on putting up your boundaries, on creating new boundaries, what you're doing is you are creating walls and you're creating the illusion of separation and the illusion of not being influenced what is happening around you and outside of you. That is simply, it's non-existent in energetics. It's non-existent in spirituality. You are never separate. You are never separate from the other. You are never separate from everything and everyone else that exists in this world. So what I'm finding is that with this excessive focus on boundaries and protection, a lot of people have switched into an illusion of non-connection or not being influenced by what is happening around us. So it creates another type of illusion of separation, basically. So boundaries, yes, but in a healthy dosage, in a dosage where you are not required to isolate yourself, to cut yourself off from other people, where boundaries are not used as a tool of judgment towards other people. I put up boundaries in regards to those people because they are not energetically as valuable as me. I put up boundaries against this person because this person is not acting as I would like them to act. They're not adhering to my expectations, which is what is often happening. So boundaries to protect your safety, yes, of course, to protect your integrity, to safeguard your integrity. But do not go overboard with this. Do not cut yourself off from the world or try to do it. You're not meant to do this. We live in a world where more and more we are meant to feel everything. We are meant to feel, to sense, to experience what is happening around us. And there are different ways to cope with this than to put up boundaries. We live in an era where what we are meant to do is exactly the opposite. We are meant to break down walls. We are meant to break down boundaries. We are meant to open up the borders and realize that we're all part of the same universal being. Every human being is connected to us. So do not artificially create this connection. It's the opposite of being on a spiritual path. It's the opposite of being on an energetic path. So boundaries are basically not to be used to gaslight yourself into thinking that everything is okay in the world just because you cut off your feelings and just because you are not feeling what is happening around you. Now, instead of boundaries, what does help create a protection, an energetic protection? What helps reinforce you energetically, spiritually, your inner energetic stamina is alignment. The more aligned you are, the less fragile you are, the less porous your energy is, and the less you are able to be invaded by other energies or thoughts or things that do not correspond to you. And this works with people as well. Be crystal clear about who you are. Clarify your signal. Do not be vague. Do not be confused about who you are, what your energy is. The clearer you are, the more people will respect your energy naturally without you having to vocalize it, without you having to cut yourself off from other people. So clarify your signal. What do you stand for? Who are you? What are your values? Communicate clearly about those things. And the people that are in your lives will know about this. They will know about what is important to you. They will know what your values are. And of course, implicitly, if someone enters into a relationship with you, if someone enters into a work relationship, a friendship, a love relationship with you, implicitly they enter into a contract where they agree to respect your values as you are doing with the other person as well. So just be very crystal clear about this. Also, follow your heart, follow your soul's destiny, follow your purpose, live your purpose. The more you are in your energy, the more you are in your element, the more your energetic boundaries are naturally strong. The more you are aligned, the more you follow your soul's purpose, the more this inner axis of alignment is strong, and the less easy it will be to destabilize you energetically or spiritually. So this also means that the more misaligned you are, the more off purpose you are, or the less you are listening to yourself and giving credit to your inner voice, to your heart, to your dreams, your desires, the more you live at odds with your inner values, the more misaligned you are, the more porous you are, the more sensitive you are to external energies. So also, to put it very simply, the more you are you, the stronger you are. The less you are you, the weaker you are. And last but not least, faith. You have to have faith. Your faith has to be strong. You have to believe in something. You have to believe in a higher power. What do you believe in? What is your belief in a higher power? How strong is your faith? Do you have faith in the divine, in the sacredness of life, of all beings? If you do not have this, do not hold energetic or spiritual space for other people, because what are you doing if you do not have like the basic requirement, which is faith? Without faith, there is no meaning to what you are doing. There is no energetic strength to what you are doing. There is also no spiritual oversight. Like for me, it is essential, if you are offering spiritual containers, if you are initiating people, you are creating sacred space, who are the beings that you have faith in? Who are the beings that will help you keep this space pure and aligned? You in yourself need to be humble enough to realize that there are blind spots in your spiritual sight, that there are dimensions that you do not yet have access to, that there are things energetically that you are not seeing and spiritually that you cannot yet reach. So it is important to trust, to have faith, and to invoke the presence, the help, the support of energies and beings that will help you, one, keep the spaces that you are not seeing clearly safe, but also help you keep a very pure and aligned space. Very often these are beings who have been on a very strong, very aligned, very pure spiritual path themselves. So they have already traced a pathway that will accelerate your spiritual journey if you connect to them, and that will help you keep your energy pure and aligned. For me, for example, these beings are Mary, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Joseph, many others as well. But let's say that those are the main energies that I work with, and they are always called into a space. I do not pretend to be the only one holding the space. When I hold space, I ask them to hold space with me to make sure that the space is pure, to make sure that the space is aligned. So this is important. Your faith has to be alive, it has to be vibrant, it has to be strong. It has to be a source of inspiration to the people who are still strengthening their faith or who are still finding their faith. Because also your faith is the source of strength, of your force of action, of your belief in humanity, of your belief in life, your faith in humanity, your faith in life. So this is really essential. And then along with this, of course, comes your sense of devotion. So devotion, for example, to Mary Magdalene, but to some spiritual guides in other dimensions, or at least who have a connection to other planes of existence and who can make sure that your presence or your journey through these dimensions is also safeguarded. So those are some of the tips that I wanted to share with you on how to support yourself energetically and spiritually if you are a space holder.